Okay, I should be up and running again, but just to make sure, please let me know. Oh, there we go. I heard myself, so that's good enough. Um, okay, so I'm back. This is going to be a very, very short. So that's good enough. Okay. Sorry, I put it on mute. I thought that was good enough. Don't worry. uh, anyway, I'm back. This is going to be a very, very short video because uh, a lot of things have happened since the last time that I streamed. First, I got food poisoning, and it was awful, and that put me out for like 5 or 6 days. It was ghastly. Did I stream after that? I think I did. I think I streamed once after the food poisoning. Anyway, after that, I had to prepare for my cousin's wedding, where I served as the officiant. So it wasn't like I was just attending or something. And so that was this past weekend. Anyway, in the interim, what happened was somebody who was following some of these streams, Shin Zurio, decided to try to help me with the code. We went about it in two entirely different ways. So I tried to fix the code on my own, and I was making some progress, but Shin took an entirely different tack and managed to get the code to a point where it does work. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And so I'm going to show you how it works, or at least I'm going to show you the effect. The code itself looks like this, and he put in lots of nice notes for later on should anybody try to replicate this or have questions about it. Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of information in there. But what he did was we discovered that basically there was a lot of testing involved. But one of the things that we discovered was that classes can contain classes. We tested it just using a small bit of code, and that turned out to be the case. So what he did was he basically exploded the classes and created classes for every single letter. So you can see here, like this class M contains every single possible version of M. And so now you have the @M class. And then he created classes like this, which is these are the characters that don't have any special forms, and said that here's a class for all the ones that don't have any special forms, and that class comprises these classes, and then these are those classes. So moving on in this regard, he went through I don't know how many versions of the code. Um, it had to have been at least 12, and each one had something wrong with it. But we finally hit upon this last version that seems to work. So there's the whole thing. One of the features of Shin's code is this empty set, which helps to define, what happens on either side. And so, anyway, as you can see, the code is quite large. He also discovered, or Shin, I apologize. I don't know if Shin is male or female, so I'm just going to say they, or may female or other. But I wanted to show you what Shin noticed. Uh, so there are these Sara Forms, right? And I was just going to ignore them. But what Shin noticed is that there's really only two serifs. For initial, it's a little curl like this that curls upward. And for final, there's a curl that goes downward. And that's really it. It always connects in the middle. And so, wow, this could be a new font, and I think it should be a new font. That is to do an entirely different style of character than this one, than this style of character, which is basically, I don't know, the Helvetica or Arial version of this font. Shin pointed out that all you needed to do was create this little bit of code and create two characters that were just the serifs, and then now you could have essentially, you could have your cake and eat it too. So, show you how this works. Compile, and let's increase the size a little bit. So, here we're going to type Varin. When you type V, this is just the standalone form. When you type A, it's still the standalone form. But if you type something else, suddenly everything kind of works. Except that you still have, this is technically the standalone form. Even though it looks like it kind of connects, it doesn't. This is the standalone form at the beginning, and this is the standalone form at the end. What that means is in order to get this to work, you always have to put something before and after it. Now this is no longer the standalone form. This is actually the initial form, and this is no longer the standalone form. It's the final form. That is the final form. I don't know. Oh, it just shows you the thing that's before it. So, that it kind of works. It works for the most part. It's just something that you have to keep in the back of your mind that, it'll certainly work when you're typing a text, but you just have to always know that there needs to be something before and something after. Otherwise, it's going to fail. So, for example, if, let's say we wanted to call like chapters in this thing, say that was Varin 1 and Varin 2. This is fine because you do have the standalone forms at the end, but this is not. You'll have to remember to insert a space. Something else you could do is put a period beforehand. Now this is just the regular period, but it turns out the regular period is not all too different from the initial period. So it's fine to just throw in there. Put a period on either side, put a period here. Oh, no, yeah, not a, you have to put a space if you put a period. What happened? There we go. You can do something like that. Anyway, but the crucial thing, of course, you can kind of see it a little bit here, is that it now works to give you those variable forms. So let's start with, if you remember, V is something that connects to high things on either side. So I was having a problem where you see V connects correctly here, but then if you did more V's, they wouldn't connect. They would break. I would get two characters in a row that would connect correctly, and then a third character that would connect incorrectly. Here you can type, whoops, funny. Here you can type as many V's as you want, and they will show up. Same thing with P. See, no problems there. And you can mix them up, A, V, P, P, B, D, and so on. And everything connects correctly. The only thing that doesn't work is the beginning or end unless you put a space after it. So this is good enough. It's good enough to deliver. It's not perfect, but it's fine. If somebody wants to try and figure out how you can just fix this so that just by typing it you get that, you can totally be my guest to give it a shot. If you'll recall, my initial version of the code didn't have any problems. The initial version was just for the non-alternate forms. Once I started introducing the alternate forms, that's where problems emerged. But before that, I had absolutely no problems. I think that no, actually you didn't have to put, you didn't even have to put a space at the end to get the final form. you had to put a space afterwards if you wanted to get the standalone form. I think the standalone forms were the only ones that weren't showing up. Everything else just showed up correctly. Adding the alternates screwed everything up. There was a suggestion on one of the videos, I forget who made the suggestion, that instead of going about it the way that I did, which was make sure that the basic forms work and then add the alternates, their suggestion was to actually start with the alternate forms and then fill in the basic forms afterwards. That's not something I ever considered, so I have no idea intuitively if it would work or not, or if it would just essentially be a notational variant of the type of code that we already have. It might be worth exploring if the result is going to be better than this. But this is at least good enough to be functional. So that is that. Oh, I did want to share one other thing. Juliette Wade, after looking at the numbers, which were these, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She suggested that these two numbers, so that's 2 and 3, not have the dot. So I removed the dot. And of course, this isn't connecting because it doesn't have a space beforehand. There it is. So now the dot is really only there for 0 and for 7, the final one. So that's pretty cool. So that's what our numbers look like now. That's the final form. So now that that is done, it is time to generate the font and make sure it works. The only thing that I think I'm going to do otherwise is to clean things up a little bit. I'm going to delete my notes. So this is how this works. You hit the delete button, oh wait, not the delete, I'm sorry. Copy and paste, and then you say keep replaced symbols under new names. That's going to put those down there. And same thing up here. And then you just delete these characters. The idea being that you don't want random characters in the font somewhere, but you still want to keep these pieces in case you need to work with the font later on. So now these are special characters that only exist in the font and are basically only useful for a font creator later going back in to make new characters. Some of these, though, are going to be important. Some of these are functional, and I kind of forget which. None of these are, though. So here, let's do this. Let's put these all on a line. Ellipsis. Is this actually a functional ellipsis? No, it isn't. So I should get rid of that. And so copy, paste, keep replaced under new names, and delete. And how do they, did I do anything for quotes? I don't think I did. Wait, maybe I did. These. I should, I wonder, you know what, I should put in some code here to, well, you know what, I'll wait and see how Juliette uses it. I may come back later and add some more code. And that code will just be relatively simple code. Right up at the beginning here, I have these very simple substitutions here so that anytime somebody accidentally types a capital letter, it still comes out as something. Or if you type Q and X, which don't have any use in this font, it changes to something else. I may add more of those depending on how Juliette likes to type the font. so that she doesn't have to memorize anything that she's not used to. Anyway, let's see. So this is necessary. This is necessary. That's necessary. That's necessary. This is not. Neither is this. These glyphs are necessary, by the way, because they're referred to in the code. One of the things that Shin's new code did was it created a series of dummy characters, basically a landing site, to take care of the fact that some of these characters are digraphs or two character sequences. So he turned the two character sequences into these characters temporarily and then turned those characters into other things because it made the code easier. Let's see. These can all go. Wait, no. The acute accent. No, the acute accent can go. And we'll check it afterwards just to make sure. Yes, all of these can go. Do I have a parenthesis? No, I don't. Okay. So that is that. Oh, you can do something. That's right. If you if you really wanted there to not be any space between a correctly appearing initial character and the beginning of the line, you could just use bar. Because remember, bar and space do the same thing, and bar is an empty character that has no width. So you can just type it and get the correct thing to come after it. Anyway, all right, so now all of this junk I used just to make the characters. It's not in the font, but it's still there in case I need it later on. So last thing I need to do is compile again to make sure I didn't delete anything important. Good, did not. And let's go ahead and take a look again at these font properties. That's going to have to change, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to... When you get to the testing phase, remember, we haven't actually produced any version of the font yet. When you get to the testing phase, and that's what I'm going to show you now, is you produce the font, you type it, you see if there's anything wrong, then you take it back and fix it. As I recall, this began, when I started off this font, I think I went at 1,000, but now it's 1,500. And so I'm pretty sure I need to change that UPM size. You don't ever want it to be, too small. But in this case, since it's so mechanical and we have no descenders, I think I'm going to change the UPM size to 1,500. Yeah, FontLab is expensive. It is expensive. I really like how it works, though. So, what can you do? All right, UPM size changed to 1,500. And we're ready to give this thing a test drive. It's important to do this when you're exporting your own font. It's very important to be sure that any word processing program or any place you plan to use the font is turned off before you export. and any previous versions of the font are deleted. This is the first version, so it doesn't matter. But you want to make sure those things are deleted and gone well before you produce a new version. Okay, all good. Export. Font has been successfully exported and no errors. Good. All right. There is the font. I'm going to drop the whole folder in the font library. And now we're going to open my Varin test page. Okay. First, why is this thing defaulting to 11-point font? I need to change that default. It's ridiculous. Nobody uses 11-point font. All right. So that should look exactly right when I go over here and turn it into this. And it does. Also looks like it's a pretty good size. All right, well, let's type some stuff. Oh, semicolon. Oh, and of course, semicolon is on home keys, so you type it a lot. I should drop something in for semicolon. Hey, everybody, and I am glad you're enjoying my videos. Cryo Shakespeare. That's a good name. So yeah. Have you ever wondered why we have like one of our home keys is semicolon? Really? And not only that, evidently at the time that typefacing was created, they thought semicolon was much more likely to be typed than colon. Uh, I mean, I guess that's true back then. Anyway, so let's test some of our problem areas. Yeah, look at that. I hate that at the beginning of the line. That's all right. Okay. Semicolon is for kitty faces. Ah, look at that. And it changed just perfectly. And that changed perfectly. It changed perfectly. Yeah, I really got to drop something in for semicolon. I hate that. Anyway, for those turning in late, somebody who was commenting on these videos named Shinzurio was actually able to figure out the code, or at least come up with their own version of the code that worked. My version of the code was, I think I might have been able to get there, but you know, that code just worked fine, or worked well enough, so I went with it. Let's see some numbers. Oh, of course not 8. Don't type 8. Because this is it's base 8, so there is no character for 8. Pretty good. Let's type some things that actually look languagey. Varin no kaluami sumish. Oh, there's sh. Shani kalu. I don't know. That is the final form, right? Yeah. I actually don't know why it was base 8, but Juliette Wade. By the way, this is not my language. in case you missed that part. This I'm creating this font for a friend, and it's her language and her writing system. I'm just creating the font. Um, the She actually said in one of these videos in the comments why it was base 8. I can't remember. Um, so to answer Kriegel's question, yeah, you can, and I've actually done this for other fonts that have bases below 10 before, where I just manually insert a character there. And I guess I could do that. I didn't for this because creating a new character means creating 4 new characters. So, like, even though with 8, all you do ostensibly is just paste 1 and 0 next to each other, you'd still have to format that so that, it has an initial, final, and medial, and a standalone form. And I just didn't want to bother. It's especially because, I don't know, having an 8 appear like that is, I think, a nicer reminder that you are not in base 10, and so you shouldn't be typing that character. Anyway, so I think this is what's something what's something that connects on the top. I know that V connects on the top. Okay, V and P, V and B. That's it. So Avbalikune. Yeah, yeah. All right. I think this is working. I am pleased with the sizing. I'm pleased with the space between lines. It's not very big, which is good. Let's see. Let's put it back on. Whoops. Let's put it back on Noto Sans and see what that looks like compared to. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so it's just oh, that's actually something I always wonder about. A math person would need to answer that. Somebody's asked, technically, could you have base 8 counting with numerals 1 through 8? In other words, there's no 0. And I have honestly no idea. Like, I don't know what the ramifications for that are. Maybe it's impossible. Maybe you have to have 0. I have no idea. Anyway, as you can see, there's a little bit of a change when you throw another font in between, so that this line shoves down a little bit. What that tells me is that the typo line gap could be larger, but I don't know if it's that big a deal for me to care. So probably going to leave it, because here's the thing: if I export a new version and I throw 10 in, because that's what I would do. I'd throw 10 into the typo line gap, and then it's just huge. I'll feel very frustrated about it. But I don't know. We'll see. So I am going to produce a new version of the font because I want to drop something on semicolon. So I'm going to quit Pages, go back to our font program, and let's see. Sorry, I'm just reading some commentary on number systems right now. So there are 2 questions here. One, could a number system actually function, or could you have a writing system where there's just characters 1 through 8 and that's it? I mean, certainly with a writing system you can do whatever you want. But for the actual mathematics of it, I don't know. I mean, so someone says here that where was it? Uh, I mean, so Chris Helvey, I mean, you say that Chinese Japanese do numerals differently. There's only 1 through 10, but I mean, they have the concept of zero, right? Anyway, so the question was, could you use could Font Lab be used for radical type logographic writing systems? Um, certainly. I mean, it just depends on how you want to do it. I mean, the simple way is just to memorize where every character is and do it that way. So it's just, memorize the locations of 1,000 different characters. You can absolutely do that. That's what I did for the Kamikawi font. But for something a little bit more sophisticated, yeah, you could. The way you do it is you'd have a dummy character that begins and ends a begins and ends a logograph. You type whatever you want for that logograph, and then you close. So you say you use hashtag. You go hashtag, type what you want, hashtag the logographic character, the correct one comes back to you. Um, so that's one way you do it. If you wanted to build it up by radicals in that, well, like Chinese characters, you'd say like, this particular character is this radical, and this radical, and you actually wanted to build them that way, yes, you could. I think the best way to do it would be to create keystrokes for all of the radicals and then have, combinations of them produce whole characters, which would take a lot of code, but you could do it, and it wouldn't be difficult code. It would just be like if X, Y, and Z is typed in sequence, produce character 0001. If X, Y, and A is produced in sequence, produce character 0002, and so on. So you could do that. Another way to do it would just be to have the characters, the radical characters, occur in certain positions, and then you type them and fix everything with kerning. You could do it. It would be such a nightmare. The same type of thing happens like if you want to do uh, accent marks not as composite characters, generally because characters have different widths. So what you have to do is say that there's characters for A, E, I, O, U. We're talking Roman characters. Then there's a character for the acute accent. What you have to do is fix the kerning of the acute accent with respect to A and E and I and O and U, making sure that it always appears in exactly the right place. And then with something like I, you need to produce a contextual variant where it's a dotless I that gets the acute accent over the top so you don't have weird overlapping. You could do that, it would be a nightmare, and I wouldn't recommend it. Anyway, I'm catching up here. So he says, Chris adds that Japanese and Chinese didn't have zero for a long time and did math without it. It seems like there's probably books and papers written on that, like, mathematics before the discovery of zero or something. And that would probably give us a much more informed outlook on this. I just don't have it. I just don't really know that much about math. Anyway. Oh, a touch-based logographic system. That would be really cool. Oh, that would be cool. But of course, don't dwarves just see really good in the dark? Anyway. All right, so what are we doing for semicolon? My my thought, do I want to produce a new one? I kind of do. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do something where semicolon is going to be like comma, but it's going to have 2 dots. So we're going to need a little bit of new code for that. Um, Huh. I don't know if I've ever read a good source on punctuation. Um, but the book I read, was it Oxford or was it something else that it was just an overview of writing systems. I know that they talked about punctuation, but the book wasn't devoted to it. It was about writing systems in general. All right, let's see what's done for punctuation. Where are you at? Letters. Oh, here we go. All we need to do is this. We're going to call it colon, and it's going to be on colon, colon Varin, and colon final Varin. And then we're going to throw it in here. That should be all I need to do. And then it's going to say that it wants to produce these 3 characters, and we create them. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and say substitute semicolon by colon. There. Who's the author of that, The World's Writing Systems by Oxford University Press? I'll tell you. Why would that do that? It's weird. Anyway. Now here's a question. Do I want the 2 dots in line? Yeah, I think I do. I think I do want the 2 dots in line like that. There we go. Now, of course, this is the problem. Now these guys are down here with a bunch of junk in the middle. Oh well. By Peter T. Daniels and William Bright. No, that's not the same book. The author of the book I was thinking of had some kind of last name like Colma or something, or Colima. It was the Red Cover series, and it was just called Writing Systems. But you know that series where all the books have a red cover? Maybe it was Cambridge. I don't remember. Um, anyway, where's our comma? Um, Here we go. And good. Done. All right. I think that'll help out a little bit. Let us take a look at that typo line gap. Just going to take a look. Just going to take a look. Where is it? Oh, wait a minute. We don't have a descender, do we? Right? Koolmas. Writing Systems, An Introduction to Their Linguistic Analysis, Florian Koolmas, Cambridge Textbooks in Linguistics. That's the one. That's the one that I read. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he does go over punctuation, but it's just a part of a larger book. That's a good one. I recommend it. Okay, if I remove the descender, I wonder if that's just gonna fix everything. Let's see what it wants. 300. I don't think so. I'll do 30. All right. We'll try 30. Let's see if that. All right. Why did that do that? Why did that do that? Okay. All right. Whatever. Oh, I see. I see. I see. Okay. Now let's do 50. How dare you? How dare you? Okay. All right. Next, very important, change the version number. Because if you don't change the version number, it screws everything up. And now, oh, criminy. I need to, darn it, I didn't think about this. I need to delete the font. But it's in this folder, and there are fonts that you can't see. So I'm going to go ahead and black out the screen. How do I do that? Oh. Oh. Where is it? Where is this thing? It's like gone. Ah, there we are. Okay. So this? Yep. Sorry. But yeah, I've already screwed up enough on these things. Showing fonts that I can't show you because it will reveal projects I'm working on that haven't been revealed yet. But there we go. Font in trash, trash emptied. And now let's bring you back. I should have a hotkey for that. All right. Export font. Wait. Just in case. All right. Good. Just wanted to make sure. Export font. Done. Okay. And let's put this font in. And now let's go ahead and open this back up. And hey, there's our little semicolon. And you see why I don't like to mess with a typo line gap? Holy crap. Look what happened. I know this is kind of small. Let me increase the font size for you. Oh my my God. You see what happened? I think this was actually overlapping at 12 point. Was it overlapping or was it just really, really, really close? I think it's just really close. All right, fine. Fine, be that way. We're going to go back and we're going to make that typo line gap bigger. Gosh darn it. You wanted 300? All right, you got 300 now. Okay. So the thing is, I take the whole folder and I put it in the font folder, like the whole thing. So it replaces the entire thing. And the way I have these things arranged, all the folders are they're all at the top. And of course, all the folders are all the new fonts I'm doing because I'm now doing folders with FontLab 6. So it's just the new stuff. So sorry, one more time. I'll be faster though this time. There we go. Okay. Empty trash and export font. Font installed. It's a little better. It's a little better. It looks like it's back to normal, which is, as I recall, yep. So all I did was just get back. You know what this... I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to increase the typo line gap by 100. All right, that's it. Shouldn't be too bad. There. And 3, apply, bam, save, deleting font again. All right. Font deleted, export. And Varin installed, temporary, then oh God, like no discernible change. Whatever. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. It's not a huge... It'll probably be different depending on which font you use. And it doesn't even matter. It's like, I mean, how often are you going to use this font in line with a Roman font? Whatever. It's good enough. Anyway, the point is, the darn thing works for the most part. It's going to do what Juliette needs it to do, with just minimal modifications, so that, for example, if you wanted to type that and you wanted it to appear absolutely correct, you'd have to throw this bar character right in there and it will look correct. Anyway, so that that concludes this 8-part series in taking a font from just the written idea stage to actual fully functional font that mostly works the way that you want it to, at least in this word processing program. I, of course, haven't tried it in Word because I don't hate myself. Anyway, thank you all for watching over the weeks. Now the only thing to do is deliver it to Juliette and tell her how it works. So thank you so much, and you can look forward to more videos like these as I do different types of work, or as shows and movies that I work on actually air, so that I can put the older videos up. Hopefully those are pretty good. Artistic levels of typo formatting. Oh, God. Well, anyway, thanks a lot. And now I'm going to go eat something. I hope that nobody heard my stomach growling on this. Have a wonderful day.